Please give him a warm welcome.
If I could start with quite a risky information announcement. I had a really offensive joke. I could have lost it. If you can look around, maybe under your seats, it's probably around here somewhere. I probably shouldn't have left it unattended while I had dinner. Okay, no, too soon. Ladies, gentlemen, Mr. President, it's great to be back in Cambridge again. I felt like this would be a very good debate, very interesting debate. As I walked through Cambridge, I saw the people wearing their scarves, their tribal scarves, and I thought it's a bit like coming back to the United Nations and the patron saint of this organisation being Mr. Niccolo Machiavelli. I'd like you all to in fact, have a moment's silence for Mr. Machiavelli and his spirit, which I'm sure is with us here this evening, while I think about what I'm going to say next. The first speaker of the proposition did mention social inclusion. He mentioned it once. He mentioned it right at the end, where he said enterprise does a lot of good, isn't the best thing we've got. It does provide social inclusion, but not for everyone, and you've got that on tape. It's a great comment, isn't it? Social inclusion, but not for everyone. The second speaker suggested that we were going to be talking about what's going to be happening later. Well, we're not. We're going to be talking about what's happening now and what's been happening in the last 10 years, our lifetimes, the things that you can remember and understand. If I came here with a lot of historical information, you'd probably fall asleep if you haven't already. Now, we were given the definition by the proposition in the second speech. I don't think enterprise was really mentioned in the first speech either, that entrepreneurialism is the temperament to muster resources beyond one's own ownership and control. And that is a great definition. Temperament to muster resources beyond one's own ownership and control. And I'm going to come back to that later. Now, I am socially inclusive. We are socially inclusive. If you want to make a point at any stage, we'll listen. So go right ahead. And that last point about innocent smoothies, reassuring to us all as it is, seems to recommend that guilt and this feeling of bad publicity is the powerhouse behind any sort of change, rather than making money. It's about wanting your customers to still like you. So it's not that entrepreneurialism is the powerhouse of social inclusion, but that public perception and the way in which the public react to the things that they see is in fact the powerhouse of social inclusion, which is going to be our side of the argument here tonight, that it is people that are the powerhouse of social inclusion. And I'm going to come on to the ways in which entrepreneurialism actually works against that. And then we had something quoted by Kofi Annan, who is, of course, a big fan of entrepreneurialism, as is his son, Kojo, who seems to try and make money out of backhand deals with the Iraqis. So if I can go on now, I was walking down St. Andrew's Street, and I had one of those lovely Fitzbilly's Chelsea buns, as you do, and I wanted to wash it down with something, and we're not quite selling them to each other over the internet yet, so I went into a store to buy a cappuccino. It was a Pret. It was wonderful. I'm a great fan of enterprise and of social inclusion, but I'm a great fan of enterprise, and I bought this coffee. Well, actually, this is my second. I bought a different coffee. I think that my father's an entrepreneur. I think that business creates jobs, it creates wealth, it creates happiness, it gives people drive, it gives people the ability to make change. And change is what justifies our existence, because without change, we'd all be living the same lives that we were living hundreds of years ago, and there would be no improvement, there would be no reason, there would be no individuality. And I'm not on this side saying that business is wrong, that enterprise is wrong. I'm on this side because I think that entrepreneurialism is definitely not the powerhouse of social inclusion, and I'm going to say why. I'm actually a bit of an inventor myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I put a patent out on corduroy pillowcases. They're very successful. They're making headlines. It's delicious, by the way. It's very nice.
You're not going to
succeed.
succeed.
You still working out why that joke works. When I was sitting having the first one, I thought to myself, the real purpose of my position here in this debate is to drink through the froth of the proposition and get to the hot, sweet liquid of the debate without getting it on my nose or burning myself, which is why the lid is still on. And I stared at the cup, and it says press on the front. And press in French means ready, which is rather ironic because that's precisely what I wasn't when I was having the coffee. It's lucky we're not having this debate in France, actually, because, of course, according to George Bush, the French don't have a word for entrepreneur. God, you guys are slow this evening. The first joke, by the way, was a McCann joke. I don't know if anybody ever got that. Right. Coming to debate at the union is a bit like going on a date. You've got to have something to say. You've got to plan it out, especially if it's the first date. And also, coming to speak at the union happens about as frequently as going on a date for me as well. So it's this is almost good trade. I know, it's very sad. This is like a sort of communal date. And so you need a structure. You need to have something in your mind to say. Please leave the cup on the dispatch box. Right, OK. I don't understand that. And I didn't have a structure, but I looked at the word PRET, and I thought P-R-E-T. We've all got to be between us. I'm going to be an entrepreneur for a second here. I'm going to use the resources beyond one's ownership and control. What can P stand for? Oh, wow. Anything? Just name something. My first question is, if entrepreneurship is the powerhouse of social inclusion, why are so many people left without? Anybody? P? Okay, standards of slipped. I thought of pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceutical products and the brilliant things that they do for society, the way in which they help us to remove our wrinkles, they help us to prevent our allergies, they help us to prevent death, they make us live longer, they make us look more beautiful. You might want to look into those. But right now, people are dying. You know, people are dying all around the world, or in particular parts of the world, actually. It's quite ironic, because of a lack of access to these products. So the powerhouse of social inclusion, once you've invented these brilliant things, would be driving them towards those people. They would be making them available at a price they can afford. But they're not, unfortunately, not yet. And the reason is because we encourage enterprise. We encourage it because it's good, it provides benefits to our society and to our economy, and we do that by giving people rights, entrepreneurs' rights, like property rights. They think of a way of applying a discovery, but they get a right over that. They get to monopolize that right. And the problem is that then they can put a price on that. They can put a price on it, and that creates a line between those people who can buy it, who can afford, who can step over that line, and people who can't. And there are no rules about profits. Once you've made that line, it doesn't matter where it is. If someone's prepared to buy it, that's fine. You're happy. You can sell your company to your employees, and you can spend your time making very good speeches. But some people are going to be stuck on the other side of that line. Now, it used to be the case that in India, until 2005, they copied lots of drugs. They took Western designs and they manufactured them, they replicated them. But in 2005, they changed their laws. They restricted patentability, and the reason they did that is because they wanted entrepreneurs, they wanted enterprise, they wanted money. And the results are quite terrifying. 41% of Ugandans who need antiretroviral drugs can't get them. There are 9 million new cases of tuberculosis every year. 1.6 million of those result in deaths because it's treatable. But 1/3 of those deaths are in Africa. And the reason is they can't afford the drugs. And we can't afford to give them the drugs. Because some people, well, just let me finish this one tiny point and then I'll give the floor. Enterprise produces, enterprise benefits, but it is ambivalent about the people who take that in. It's ambivalent about the people who can step over the line and who can't. It just cares that enough people can step over the line for people to make a profit. Yes.
If we didn't have the entrepreneurship, you wouldn't be complaining that the African countries weren't getting these drugs, because these drugs would simply not exist.
Yes, thank you. Read the title of the debate. The debate is not this House believes that entrepreneurialism is evil. It's not that entrepreneurship kills people. It's that this House believes that entrepreneurship is a powerhouse for social inclusion, which clearly...
A powerhouse.
A powerhouse. Well, clearly, when entrepreneurs are lobbying to the World Trade Organization to create higher restrictions on the use of patentable drugs, and that results in 1.6 million deaths alone through tuberculosis per year, I don't think you can say that that, and the motivations for that, are a powerhouse of social inclusion. My second question is what happens when the entrepreneurs set the rules? Now, maybe you've warmed up a bit. Oh, what could R stand for? That's rules. The second. Rules, regulations, a bit dry, a bit dull. Where